Well, being a female, first of all, and then being black, some people have said is like a double whammy, really. There I am trying to either change the world, change someone else's world, or whatever the case may be, and being met with injustice in the sense that just because of my appearance and how I look, it makes me already disqualified for funding. I don't qualify to manage a project. I don't qualify. What would I know as a young black female?
It just feels that maybe at times that you got to work about 10 times harder. You got to put in more effort to almost feel like you need to catch up and to almost show that you are equal.
Where some people might argue that affirmative action have now, say, lessened my opportunities, I feel like if it was God's will for me to have that opportunity, I would have gotten it. I was always privileged enough to still get the bursary and still be able to study.
My growth was somewhat compromised by being born in an apartheid society. I think that the progress that I have made in my life is not in any way attributable to apartheid. It is attributable to the grace of God. I mean, been involved in government programs like land restitution as a commissioner, and also most recently, up to end of last year, as an acting judge on the Land Claims Court.
We can focus on racial injustice, but that's not necessarily the greatest injustice in the context that I find myself. Of course, racism is one of them, but when I think what I'm personally exposed or involved with, I think would be on a smaller personal level. So yes, something like abortion, for example, that's something close to my heart and I've been exposed to.
My parents and their forefathers were disadvantaged in terms of being removed from certain areas, in terms of the Group Areas Act, and not having access to properties that had value at the time. If I think about what value that could have had or could have meant for me now, and what it could have meant for me and for my kids, it feels like I've got to build this first generation with my kids.
What I can say about my mom and my dad, she had to work tooth and nail to get to where she is now, which is owning her own business and really being well respected in the workplace. She tells me, Nikita, you are so lucky to have a 20-year head start of me.
It's in the workplaces. This is where injustice happens, because if, for example, as a black person, you get paid less, you're hungry for overtime, first of all, in order to make more money to take care of your family. And in that process, you end up deserting your family and your children because you are not there, you're always working.
Racism, no, I'm not tired. I won't talk about it every day because that's exhausting. But just having race conversations and race relations, I think it bridges the gap really that has been made and that has been sealed and, you know, hammered in places. And I have absolutely no problem talking about it now, even though it's said to be uncomfortable and not received well.
Personally, I'm not tired. It's something that I'm open to engage, but it must be constructive for me. It must not just be. I'm not just in it to vent. I'm in it to hear and understand and say, okay, so how do we journey together so that we make our own community better, and how do we influence our community with South Africa?
It can obviously become tiring in family conversations when things get heated and we're trying to correct them and stuff like that. It can become tiring and hard, but we need to push past and keep talking about this. Jesus didn't get tired of advocating for us, so we need to keep fighting the hard fight.
No, I'm not tired. We can't be tired because it's also part of spreading the gospel. We can never say that we are tired of speaking the truth. Wherever we are under an obligation to spread the horizons of the gospel.
So I want to say yes and no. I'm saying yes because generations before me, and I presume generations after me, are still going to have the same racial conversation. And it's tiring constantly asking for equality, but also no, because we still want to see more change, we need to have this conversation over and over and over until we get to that place of equality.
I guess I sometimes get tired of a specific narrative that I'm hearing. I would really welcome open, honest conversations where you don't feel threatened to actually bring your perspective. So, and definitely inviting everybody to the table, black, white, brown, whatever, to share our perspectives. And I think it would be useful to talk about it in the church, in a God-fearing space where the Bible is our foundation. I think the narrative that our culture throws sometimes can maybe for some people put them off, or yeah.
Absolutely, I'm very tired. The reason why I'm tired of it is we always talk, we don't act. We need action. Even being part of this, this sort of interview, I'm interested not bringing up the problems, but bringing the solutions and being part of the solution and the change.
I'd say me too. Hashtag me too. I'm also tired. I'm also, apartheid wasn't my fault either. But the fact that where I grew up was the residue of apartheid can't be fair on me. The fact that you can go sailing straight after school, on the yachts in the Caribbean, doing whatever job you're doing, and I start an internship on a measly salary, and by the time you come back, you become my manager. That's not cool for me too. And we all started at the same place. We all graduated at the same place. Yet you get preferential treatment whilst I was working towards something. I'm tired too.
I can probably relate or understand a bit that it is hard, because you don't want to always be hearing that you are the oppressor. So I'm saying, don't become tired. If you're becoming tired, you're giving up on me. If you're giving up on me, then I don't think you're really understanding me. And you're not understanding that the struggle that I'm still fighting for the future it's real. Once I know that you've got my back, then I'm saying, let's fight together. And it's not so that I only gain, but it's so that we gain, so that we dismantle this together.
If we're not disagreeing with it, are we actually agreeing with it? I can't just sit back and say, oh, the people whose fault it was must fix the problem. We need to be, actively trying to change people's perspective. And yes, it wasn't my fault, but I can try to bring about this change. Change isn't going to happen just like that. It takes time. So we need to keep talking and keep working.
It's very important for there to be an education of the history of this country. Because once people are educated about the truth, it is the truth that makes people to change.
I can definitely sympathize with them. I mean, sometimes you get the gut reaction like, well, I wasn't involved in it. I was kind of oblivious to it. When is the point where we've apologized enough? I would encourage other white people to say, well, we are called to be kind and compassionate, to listen and be slow to talk and to judge.
It's definitely a tough pill to swallow. Because their family has not experienced the lives that has been taken and the disadvantage that even some of my family lives in today because of that. It's difficult to accept when someone says that when they haven't experienced it.
I totally agree with them. It was not their fault, absolutely. It was also not my fault that I get born into a disadvantage. It's what the ancestors and forefathers did. But we both have a responsibility to ensure we come together, work together, and fix the problem and readdress this injustice of the past.